I'm Jeff Glor from CBS Saturday Morning. Welcome to The Dish. Today we're exploring some traditional and non-traditional treats that may appear in your kitchen this holiday season. From latkes in New York City to tamales in Texas. Let's start with the popular yet polarizing winter drink, eggnog. Vladimir Duthier takes a sip.
True to its name, authentic eggnog starts with, you guessed it, eggs.
So we're gonna whip that up.
But as we learned during a recent visit to Stockade Tavern in Kingston, New York, there's so much more to it.
We're using cognac, regular heavy cream.
Owners Paul Maloney and his wife Jenny use a recipe dubbed the Baltimore eggnog, which dates back to the 1800s. And here in Kingston, the first capital of New York State, it's likely some of the earliest settlers were drinking an even older version.
The colonials drank a ton of eggnog. New England was a major rum exporter and maker. Pirate juice, they call it.
Right.
And so it needed to be tamed with a little bit of cream, some sugar, some eggs.
Why is there such a love-hate relationship with eggnog?
For me, it's a pure love relationship, but I understand that it's very bad for you. It's no worse for you than sucking on the tailpipe of a crosstown bus.
At the Dead Rabbit in New York City, we met up with cocktail historian Dave Wondrich, who just completed a nearly 900-page guide. He let us sample his homemade eggnog.
Cheers.
Cheers.
It's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Who was the person who said, you know what would be really great? Eggs and cream and booze. And I'm going to drink that.
I mean, some form it goes back to antiquity or certainly the Middle Ages.
It does.
It wasn't always a seasonal drink.
People did drink it year-round, but New Year's Day was a big deal. The women of the house would stay home with a huge bowl of punch or eggnog or both, and the men would go to all their friends' houses and have a drink. By the end of the 19th century, it's really just a special occasion thing.
It has a flavor that gives you comfort.
Yeah.
When you order a martini, I don't get comfort from that.
Well, see, that might be where we differ.
Oh, do you really? Has it now become a drink for the New World? I mean, are they still drinking it or any other place?
There's coquito in Puerto Rico where they use coconut milk.
Coquito means little coconut, a nod to its main ingredient. The Caribbean holiday treat has grown in popularity over the last few years.
We have rum, and then we always have coconuts.
On a recent visit to Puerto Rico, we stopped in Factoria Bar and met bartender Roberto Bercia, who makes a recipe passed down by his grandmother.
The pinch of ginger. That gives you a little bit of taste, but also a texture.
When you first put ginger into your coquito, where did that come from?
My grandmother used to give you hot milk with ginger, honey. You make memories from the experiences, and then also you remind memories from your palate.
This is your glass.
Wow, yeah, okay.
Not unlike what Maloney hopes to achieve all the way in Kingston.
How does it make you feel when someone who's not been a fan of eggnog says, you know what, I'm converted?
It feels great. It happens all the time. We'll ask people like, that's not for me, but you can give my date some, and I'll go back and they're like, you know what, I had a sip. Now we're gonna put some nutmeg.
I've never actually seen a real live
No,
nutmeg.
are you kidding? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Cheers. Thanks a
Cheers.
lot. Thanks for your help.
Thank
You're
you.
hired.
After the break, latkes, anyone? We dive into the history behind the Hanukkah tradition next on The Dish. Latkes are a staple in Jewish cuisine, especially during the holiday season. CBS Sunday Morning's Martha Teichner visited Russ and Daughters in New York City to learn how the potato pancakes are made.
After the second or two it takes to light that candle, what is the logical thing to do next? Eat. Latkes, of course. Crispy, fried, slightly oniony potato pancakes with decadent, that's a euphemism for fattening, toppings. Why latkes? The simple answer is that they're meant to remind Jews of the miracle of the oil associated with Hanukkah. But this story is anything but simple. In 164 BCE, a devout Jew who called himself Judah Maccabee and his followers overthrew the Syrian Greek king who was trying to impose Greek customs and religion on the people of Israel. Hanukkah means dedication.
It commemorates the victory of the Maccabees, who retook the temple.
Jane Cohen is a Jewish food historian and cookbook writer.
And when they re-sanctified the temple and cleaned everything, they needed ritual oil for the candelabra. And the only ritual oil that was pure enough was only enough to last for one day, according to the story.
But miraculously, it lasted 8 days. Centuries after the fact, Jews were told to celebrate by eating foods cooked in oil. But again, why latkes? Enter Judith, darling of the art world.
Judith was, according to all accounts, this beautiful widow. And she set out to seduce Holofernes, who was holding the town of Bethulia under siege. And she had these very salty pancakes, levivote, and filled them with a salty cheese. And Holofernes, who intended to seduce or rape her, kept eating these. And he became so thirsty that he just drank incredible quantities of wine until he passed out. At which point, this beautiful widow chopped off his head.
How does Judith get connected with Hanukkah?
That's where the bizarre part comes in. Nobody is actually sure how the two became conflated.
But they did, and by the Middle Ages, Jews in Italy were eating cheese pancakes during Hanukkah. Now we come to the potato. Potatoes were cheap, and thanks to poverty among Eastern European Jews, potatoes became the key ingredient in latkes, Yiddish for pancakes.
Like just a normal day, when there's no holiday, we make 1,000 a day, and then during Hanukkah, we'll make 5,000 a day.
Wow. Nikki Russ Fetterman is a fourth-generation owner of Russ & Daughters in New York City. For 105 years, her family's business has been Jewish food. The latkes are made in small batches, by hand.
You commune with the ancestors when you do this.
Well, I suppose you do. Is there a technique to squishing? Just squish? If there's a secret to getting latkes right, it's this.
This is fun. I like this.
Straining out extra liquid.
Press it down.
The mixture is formed into patties, which are first fried on the griddle, then deep fried in oil, canola oil here. They're meant to be eaten crispy and warm.
The story of Hanukkah and the latke is one of perseverance and a little bit of magic, and that's a universal story.
Which is how the Brooklyn Museum justifies certain liberties taken by chefs participating in its annual latke festival. Have you ever heard of Vietnamese latkes? Or how about Korean sweet potato latkes? Hanukkah is considered a minor holiday for Jews, but it's got this going for it.
We made them, we might as well, eat them.
The Talmud, Judaism's book of laws, decrees that during Hanukkah there is to be no grieving and no fasting.
These are really good.
No problem.
That's really good too.
If the latkes are good and plentiful.
Yum.
Yeah.
Many families take part in traditions during the holidays, whether it be baking cookies, building gingerbread houses, or eating the 7 fishes. For Chef Hugh Atchison, it's a fabulous family meal. Dana Jacobson got an invite.
When you start working in kitchens at age 15, you get pretty comfortable. As a celebrity chef, Hugh Atchison's ease with cutlery and camera crews is pretty much on par.
Can you mic her up? So what we're doing next is this. What you're gonna do is just kind of pull out as you're tightening just a little bit, and that'll form the circle more.
It doesn't want to cooperate.
I know, it's not cooperating. You guys are going to be editing this.
Aha.
Yep. We're building something.
He's building a crown of lamb. Something he does each December as the centerpiece of his family's Christmas Eve dish.
Now, I wouldn't eat this much butter every day, but
that's what makes food better.
It's Christmas Eve, so you might as well. So now this is going to go into an oven down there at 350.
Do you find when you eat something like that has so many memories, can you feel like you're back in time?
I think the most memorable meals of your life always pull at a heartstring of familiarity of something you've experienced before.
Yeah.
And I think holiday dinners are really important to kind of ground us all. You can go out for Szechuan food on Christmas night, and if that's your tradition, so be it. That's great.
I will say it. That is my Jewish Christmas Eve. That's what it is.
But that's the holidays. The holidays is the memories and the repetition of and comfort of things that bring you all together.
Yeah.
That's traditions.
Right.
And so keep on doing it.
Atchison still remembers the more everyday food he ate growing up in Ottawa, Canada.
We had one of the first microwaves.
My dad would take acorn squash, cut it in half, and put a pat of butter and real Canadian maple syrup and
Get it in the microwave. And it's the best thing ever. And then we have a little poached chicken next to it, and that was dinner. It's simple.
Have you done it recently?
Basic. Yeah, I mean, I do it all the time.
When you were eating a meal like that with your dad, would you have ever envisioned this and what you've become?
No. I didn't plan any of this.
For nearly 30 years, Atchison worked in kitchens in Ottawa, Montreal, and San Francisco before settling in Athens, Georgia, home to the rock band REM and the University of Georgia. In 2000, he opened 5 and 10, the first of 2 Athens restaurants. A decade later, he expanded to Atlanta with Empire State South. And in October, Atchison opened By George inside the Candler Hotel downtown.
Asa built this building as kind of an homage to himself.
Coca-Cola magnate Asa Candler built the 17-floor building, once the tallest in the city, in 1906.
It's funny, you go in the staircases and you see like Rembrandt and Socrates and Asa Candler. It's beautiful, and it's real solid marble all the way through. And these chandeliers and things like that.
Atchison named his restaurant after the building's 2 architects, both named George.
I mean,
this is, so that's the Tiffany windows when they're not illuminated.
The building, which was last home to a bank, features the original brass elevator doors in the lobby. Downstairs, Atchison's kitchen sits next to the old safe. The 3,000-square-foot restaurant, which sits below, got its identity from the kitchens of Atchison's youth.
I'd always wanted to do a French restaurant. I'm fluent in French. It's what I was trained in. And so I feel a pedigree or a background worthy of that to claim that.
His latest cookbook, Sous Vide, is a nod to the French immersion method of cooking food in a low-temperature bath. Sous Vide, like Atchison's previous cookbooks, includes illustrations that he prefers to call doodles.
Where did that start from?
You know, I come from this family of really interesting academics, but my grandmother was an artist, one of my sisters was an artist. It was never really a skill set that I thought I had, but it was a good way of visualizing the food that we do and sort of planning out menus. And then it became more whimsical. It's just fun.
Do you do it for every meal that you're going to do, every recipe, or just randomly?
It's more random than anything.
But Atchison did doodle the menu for our Christmas Eve dish.
This is literally what you drew is now on the table.
Yeah, pretty much. So you've got a Vidalia onion tart.
Okay.
A really simple savory dough, and it's almost like a quiche, for lack of a better term.
I like that.
This is pomme Anna, the sort of classic French dish of layered potatoes slowly cooked in a big copper pan, which is very old school. Our turnips that have got their greens and then braised turnips within them. A simple salad with radishes and a classic French vinaigrette. That's a salsa fi gratin. Almost tastes like an oyster, a long root vegetable. And then I've got the lamb.
This to you is Christmas Eve.
This is Christmas Eve pretty much every year. You know, when I was young, I was so bad. I would like find all my Christmas presents and unwrap them, and then I would use them, and then I'll wrap them back up and stick them under a tree. Nobody ever noticed.
I'm just realizing there's one thing we have not tried yet.
Oh, the bûche de Noël. Yeah, are you gonna go for that?
How do
Well, you have
not,
to.
right?
Bûche de Noël is this classic roll cake. Christmas Eve and Christmas are all multi-generational too. It's like your aim is to make people happy.
This is just
so
fun.
make them a log.
I mean, it's chocolate and sugar and
It's good.
so good. Cheers.
Well, yeah, cheers.
Thank you for making this for us.
Thank you for coming
Thank you.
to Atlanta and to the Candler and to By George.
All right.
Coming up, we learn about a Christmas time tradition that requires all hands on deck. We'll show you next on The Dish. The Ruiz family of Austin, Texas have been making tamales during the holidays for nearly 5 decades. Here's CBS Sunday Morning's Mo Rocca with a first-hand look at their Feliz Navidad tradition.
The holidays are a time for wrapping presents, wrapping houses in Christmas lights. And for the Ruizes of Austin, Texas, like so many Mexican-American families at Christmas time,
Come to make tamales!
wrapping tamales. Without fail, the family has gathered to wrap pork or beans in the corn flour dough known as masa.
It's chili time!
I just happened to be in the neighborhood.
I hope there's a lot of food because I'm moving in.
Okay.
A tamale-making party
Hi, Mo.
Hi,
is known as a tamalada.
She seems to be expressing more frustration.
Well, she's got 4 children.
Cousins Carmen, Ruth, Esther, and Yoli grew up loving their grandmother's tamales. But their grandmother passed away in 1971, leaving no recipe behind. So the women turned to an elderly aunt, but she hadn't written down the recipe either.
We frustrated her to no end that first time because we were like, don't put that in there. We're going to measure it first. Yeah, everything she did, we measured. And that's how we came up with the recipe.
3 generations of sisters, nieces, mothers, and daughters travel from all over the country for the 2-day reunion.
Everything gets talked about. We gossip a lot when we're together.
Birth announcement. Guess who's engaged?
Yeah, who's gotten divorced. You don't really know about it until you get here and they say, oh, by the way.
It might sound fun, and it is, but there are rules.
Wow, the bylaws.
The bylaws.
All written down.
This is kind of like the Tamalada Talmud. All members must attend both days.
Yes.
Reminder, if you invite your guest to sit at the table, give up your chair and you can sit behind her.
There's a pecking order, too. Seniority determines how many tamales members can take home.
We've kind of adjusted a lot of our rules. I know they seemed kind of silly and kind of harsh to some of the younger
But you
group.
know what? You don't learn unless you commit.
Okay, so what is my task here?
Just spread.
Oh, it's just like spackling. ¿Cómo se dice spackling en español?
Spackle.
No. It's probably just espackle.
Tamales originated in Mesoamerica, what is modern-day Mexico and Central America, over 7,000 years ago. They were holiday favorites back then, too, given as offerings to the gods during special occasions. And it was a special occasion that brought us to San Antonio's historic Market Square. At the recent Gran Tamalada, tamales were in abundance.
What kind of a bean are you?
I'm a tamale.
Oh, you're a tamale. Somebody said you were a bean.
A tamale is not carved in stone. So it's whatever your taste buds are. Hey, let's try this one or let's try that one.
Professor Ellen Riojas Clark is an expert on tamales. She says tamales were the first grab-and-go meal.
You don't need a fork, you don't need a spoon, you don't need anything except your hands. Hold the tamale, push it up, and you eat it. And so yes, it's the first portable food that the hunters would take on their trips.
The Ruiz family made 300 dozen tamales. Yes, those are tamales. They'll enjoy them through the year. But it's the tradition of making them together at Christmas time that fills the tamalada with meaning.
Family traditions tend to die off when the head of the family is gone and children live in separate towns and, you know, they don't have a reason to get together. And this was sort of our reason to get together.
For more stories like these and live coverage of breaking news 24/7, stream us right here on CBS News. I'm Jeff Glor. Happy holidays. We'll see you next time for another helping of The Dish.